Hello and welcome to Powel School of Motoring. I hope you guys are doing really well. This is another mock test of Powell. His test is coming up very soon again. I'll try and put that video on YouTube as well. So let's see how he's gonna do on his mock test today. So I would like to thank Paul for allowing us to record this video. And thank you guys for obviously appreciating the previous mock test, so that has encouraged me to do another mock test. So let's watch this video then.
Okay, Powell. Throughout the test, I would like you to follow the road ahead. Okay. If I want you to turn left or right, I'll tell you in plenty of time. I'll ask you to do one maneuver, 20 minutes of independent driving. I may ask you to follow sat-nav, but I may ask you to follow some signs. Okay. And I may ask you to do emergency stop as well. So if you're not sure at any point, you can ask. Okay. For now, can you please tell me the first question I'm going to ask you? How would you check if there is a problem with the ABS or anti-lock braking system?
Right, so if I'm start the engine, yeah, and I'm press the brake, yeah, so on the screen should be come out the ABC, yeah, and then if it's something problem, so the car be moving to the one side, yeah.
Okay.
Right, I asked him a tell me question before starting the test, and his answer was not correct because he got mixed up between how to check the foot brake and how to check the ABS. So he gives a little bit mixed up answer in the end. So he picks up a minor mistake there. Okay, so very good all-round observation before moving off. So the mock test was taken at Thornbury Test Centre, which is in Bradford. So we have started the test just outside the test centre on the main road. So the test centre is literally this road on the left. Speed limit has been mentioned on the top left corner, as you can see, for every single road. Here you have to be very careful and listen to the examiner carefully. So they will exactly tell you where to go right after the roundabout. So I told Powell to stay on the right once the exit has been taken off the roundabout and is positioning right. So as I said, be very careful with the examiner's words. They will be very clear on explaining where they want you to go. So either they'll say stay to the right or stay to the left. So be careful with that.
And like now I need to indicate.
I can't tell you.
Yeah.
So he asked me, do I need to indicate or not? So obviously it was a mock test. I couldn't tell him what to do. But I've not marked him down on anything. But the right answer will be that you do not need a signal. You just stay to the right, and then examiner will say stay in the most right lane ahead, or whichever lane they want you to take. But normally if you're staying to the right, you'll be going in the most right lane like Powell is.
And when you go through this set of traffic lights, stay in the second lane from the right.
Just before moving off, he checks his mirror very nicely, which is great, and then he gets into the second lane from the right. Okay, normally you will be told by the examiner to pull up on the left somewhere safe, and that's when your independent driving will start. Either they can ask you to follow sat nav, or they can ask you to follow some signs. So rather than stopping, I asked Powell to just start following the signs for leads. So this is where independent driving started. So the speed limit will change to 40 miles an hour just before they set a traffic light. At this point, there will be a new lane on the left, as you can see on the road marking. So ideally you should move into the left lane, just because that's the lane you should use for your driving. So Powell starts to stay in the middle lane, which is normally the right lane to go towards Leeds. So if there is a lot of traffic, it's just good to stay in the middle lane all the way through, and you will be turning right at the roundabout towards Leeds to take third exit. And you can do that from the middle lane. And it does really well to check the center mirror, as you can see now just before braking, because the traffic was building up ahead, so you needed to know what's happening behind. So that was a really good mirror check there. And then he checks his mirrors again before moving off, which is brilliant. In this sort of situation, you need to be very careful with motorbikes, because there is traffic in all three lanes, so motorbikes tend to go through the traffic, and just be really careful, especially before changing lanes. As you can see on the floor, center lane and right lane goes towards Leeds. So as I mentioned before as well, you should stay in the middle lane. Okay. To take this third exit from the middle lane, you don't have to signal right. You can just stay in this lane and just follow that lane all the way through the right. If you try and signal to take that third exit, what's gonna happen is people will think you're moving into the right lane, which can be misleading. Right, it's a really good response to keep clear sign on the floor, as you can see, but he realizes that he certainly had enough space to go after the keep clear sign, so it will be a minor mistake just for response to road marking and signs, because people behind could expect him to stop after the keep clear, because there was plenty of space, so it will be considered as one minor mistake. He does say to me as well, I should have gone after the keep clear, and then I said it's okay, don't worry about it. This roundabout can be a bit challenging sometimes, just because the road marking is not very obvious and clear on it. Learners end up swerving too much to the right as they are about to get close to the third exit. This is the point, but Powell keeps nice and close to the left and then takes the exit nicely. However, in this roundabout he picks up another minor mistake because he does check his mirrors, but on exit he does not put any signal on. He only cancels the right signal. So that is another minor mistake for necessary signal. On this dual carriageways, national speed limit applies, which is 70 miles an hour. Right, throughout this dual carriageway he keeps driving around 54-55 miles an hour. Well, the limit was 70 miles an hour, so it was safe to go a bit faster than that. So he picks up another minor mistake for progress, appropriate speed. Soon after the exit towards Bramley, speed limit changes to 60 miles an hour. And then here I asked Powel to follow the signs for Ring Road.
Okay, Powell, I would like you to follow the signs for Ring Road now. So follow Ring Road signs. There's a side road coming up ahead.
So Ring Road is the exit of this dual carriageway. So what he does, he looks at this white car coming
the car is
to join the carriageway. He starts to move into the right lane, which is normally fine, but he had to take exit. Then he comes back to the left after checking his mirrors, which is fine, and the speed limit ahead will change to 40 miles an hour.
Now follow the
So he
signs
does
for
well to
Tootsie.
check his mirrors again to come back all the way in the left lane. So he's in 40 zone and it's a bendy road, but he does not change any gear. He's still in 5th gear. That's the reason he gets a minor mistake for gears. And then I asked him to follow the signs towards Pudsey, which was 3rd exit.
Towards Tootsie.
So finally he changes back into 4th gear. This is where he gets a serious mistake. He's in a 30 zone, but he kept driving about 35-36 miles an hour. Just because his speed was so fast, he did not put any signal on approach to the roundabout to confirm his intention that he's taking 3rd exit. I didn't give him minor mistake for I only gave him a minor mistake for not signaling right, but he picks up a serious mistake for overspeeding in 30 zone just before the roundabout. And then I asked him to pull up on the left somewhere safe. On this occasion, he follows MSM routine very nicely and pulls up on the left very nicely.
Thank you. I would like you to drive on when you're ready.
And then I asked him to move off again when it's safe to do so. This is where he picks up two minor mistakes. First one, what he does, he doesn't get high enough on the biting point and he rolls back, as you can see. So this is a minor mistake. So the second mistake he makes is he moves off in third gear and stalls. Luckily no one was there, so he didn't really obstruct anyone. So he picks up another minor mistake there. Now this minor mistake could be under gears section or move off section. So I'm gonna put it down under moving off again. And when I ask him to move off again, as you can see, he looks over his shoulder. So he does look over his shoulder there, but he doesn't move off. So that's not really his final check. So he keeps looking in the mirror, and then when it's safe, he moves off without checking in the blind spot. So some of you might think he did look over his shoulder. Yes, absolutely right, he did, but he didn't move off at that time. So you should have looked over his shoulder again, because that should be your last check. Anyways, here I asked him to carry out a maneuver, so I asked him to pull up on the right somewhere safe. Again, he checks his mirrors, he signals nicely, safe gap was there, and he pulls up nicely on the right.
Thank you. And now I would like you to reverse a couple of cars.
And then I asked him to reverse 2 cars length when it's safe. So he does observe all round, but when he starts to reverse, and during the reversing, he does not look over his left shoulder. So when you're reversing, you should be looking into the back window mainly, because that's where you're going. So he just keeps looking in the mirror. So you wouldn't be able to see any thing in his blind spot. So he stops nicely for any cars coming. When reversing, should be looking into the back window. So he picks up a minor mistake for observation.
Police is parking as well.
Yep.
And then I asked him to stop, and then he was told to move off again to rejoin the traffic when it's safe. This is where he picks up a second serious mistake. So he does look at 360 from the left shoulder to the right shoulder all the way through, but then again he didn't go then, so he should have looked again. And remember, on this occasion the final look is over the left shoulder, not the right shoulder. So he just moves off when looking in the mirror. So he picks up a serious mistake there, because traffic will be coming 30 miles an hour, so you cannot afford to miss them.
And I would like you to pull up on the left just before the car in front and leave enough room for yourself to move off. Try and get close to it, but leave enough room for yourself to move off.
And then he was told to pull up on the left somewhere safe, close to the car in front, and leave enough room to move off.
And I would like you to drive on again when you're ready.
And then I asked him again to move off. And also this was end of independent driving, so I was gonna give him directions as normal after that.
At the end of the road, turn left. So that's the end of independent driving. I'll give you directions as normal now.
And then I asked him to turn left at the end of the road. On this junction, he approaches a little bit faster and his front goes slightly over the line, so he picks up another minor mistake on this junction for a response to a road markings.
Straight in, yeah?
Yeah, just keep following the road ahead. This
Down
is first.
Then he was asked to take the next road on the right. And then he follows MSPSL routine nicely on this junction. And then the speed limit on the new road is 20 miles an hour. And then he asked Powell to take a left turn at the end of the road. And the speed limit on the new road will be 30 miles an hour. Again, a very good observation on this junction. So he waits for the right gap and then he pulls out.
Okay, Paul, the second question is, can you please show me how would you put your dip lights and tail lights on? When it's safe, you can do that, please. That's it, thank you.
And then make sure the panel, the lights come off, yeah?
Yeah, that's one of the ways you can check.
And at the end of the road he'll be turning right. He signals slightly early for that junction because there's a car park on the right, but then again it didn't confuse anyone, so I'm not really gonna give him any mistake. On approach to the pedestrian crossing, he does not check any mirrors at all. There was a pedestrian crossing the road, so he needed to know what's happening behind him. So he picks up a minor mistake for not checking mirrors before changing his speed.
Then, after the traffic lights, I would like you to turn left towards Bradford.
And then I asked him to turn left towards Bradford. And the speed limit on the new road will be 40 miles an hour. At the end of the road, there is give way, so make sure you do observe on the right hand side, like Powel is. So he had a very good look before he entered, which is brilliant. Ahead, speed limit will change to 30 miles an hour soon after the bus stop. And then I asked him to turn left at the traffic lights. And after the traffic lights at the roundabout, I asked him to take the third exit. So as soon as this left turn is taken, the speed limit will be 10 miles an hour, as the sign can be seen now. Then I asked him to pull up on the left. Soon after this, the car, the Thornbury Test Centre is on the right hand side, and we parked just outside the test centre. This is where we ended the test, and I'll let you listen to the feedback I gave him.
Okay, that's the end of the test. What do you think? What is the result?
I think it's okay, but about one or two mistakes.
Can you tell me which two mistakes? Or
Right.
so
Yeah.
do you think you've passed or not?
Yeah.
Yeah, you think you've passed? Okay.
What do you think?
No, you haven't.
No.
Nope. There were a couple of reasons for that, really. Now, if you remember when you were coming up to roundabout, when I asked you to follow the signs for Pudsey,
Mm-hmm.
so before the roundabout, speed limit changed to 30, and still you were almost 38 miles an hour when you were approaching the roundabout.
Right.
So
After the
just before the roundabout.
Right.
So that is one of the serious mistakes, because when you're in 30 zone, you can't exceed 30.
Mhm.
You can be below 30, but you can't exceed 30.
Mhm.
Okay? That's the maximum. Okay? And just because your speed was so fast, you didn't put any signal on there for the third exit. There's absolutely no signal. So I didn't give you a serious mistake for that, because it didn't really affect anyone.
Mhm.
I've marked that as minor mistake. Okay. So that overspeeding is one mistake. And second mistake I've given you is for not really observing in your blind spot when you pulled up on the right,
Oh, I'm watching always the mirror.
the left blind spot.
Mhm.
Yes, left blind spot. Just before moving off, you didn't check the left blind spot. You kept saying police car is parking, you
Mhm.
remember?
Yeah, yeah.
But you were looking in this mirror.
Yeah.
You didn't look over
Mhm.
the left shoulder.
Yes. I
Okay,
need to be-
that's it. That's how you need to check.
Not
Yeah.
just.
So when you're moving off from left, you're checking your right blind spot. I think once or twice you missed. But you're okay. But when you pulled up on the right and you're moving off, you should check your left blind spot, yeah? So what is your final look? When you move off?
So
when
the
you pulled
final
up on the
is
right.
in here, yeah?
When you pulled up on the right,
Oh, right. So from here to
that's
that.
it. That's your final look, isn't
Yeah.
it? But I think overall, it wasn't that bad driving. There were a few minor mistakes though, which are mainly related to your mirrors and signal and moving off. This is the area where you can get better before your test, and I'm sure that you will do much better. Okay, so moving off, once you moved off in the third gear, you stalled. You rolled back as well, and mirrors, just make sure you check them regularly before you change your speed and direction. Yeah, so before you change your speed or direction, you should check your mirrors.
Because the thing is as well, if I'm driving, yeah, like now, so I see this mirror and this mirror, so I'm just looking like that, yeah? Maybe not like that, but like that, yeah? But what do you mean? So you want like that?
Yeah, basically, I understand what you're saying, but if the examiner can't see you checking mirrors, it means you've not checked mirrors.
Yeah, because
Okay.
I'm checking like that, but make sure you see,
Make sure
I'm
you actually
checking.
see that, okay? And you need to check them more regularly. Before braking as well, you don't check your mirror. So before, you need to know what's happening behind you, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you need to know. And when you're about to move off again, let's say at the traffic light or in traffic situation, you should check your mirrors again to see what's happening on your sides and what's happening directly behind you. Okay. But these were the two main reasons you've not passed the test. One was overspeeding, and one was not looking over your left shoulder when you move off. Okay. But definitely you need more work in mirrors and move off. Okay, and signal as well. So this is slightly weak area. Yeah, that's it really. So I'm sure you'll be fine before the test.